Whoa, this is my first time going live, Kat. Welcome to KatCam. I'm just having a bit of cereal after a yoga class, and it was yin, and it was very chill, and there was a guy playing this instrument, and I was having a lot of thoughts about our conversations, and I wanted to share them with you. I wanted to just download them so that they were out there, because this paper will not survive. So when I was biking, I had this thought to basically to match our gear to our goal. And by gear, I mean like bicycle gear. We choose a gear based on the difficulty of the hill. So we adjust based on the physical circumstances, or how hard it is we need to push against these cogs. So wow, I just started judging myself really heavily. Okay, it's fine. So what I've been thinking about is, how do we match the gear that we're using to the goal that we've set, so that the method, I know there's an interesting way to say this because I've heard it in my head before. It's the way is the goal. That sounds so obvious. But there's something to that. The way is the goal, because the way that we move forward is our achievement of the forward, is our achievement at the end. So I can't achieve a goal of making people feel good if I don't make people feel good in every single moment. If I don't feel good myself in every single moment, because a goal of mine is that I can look in anybody's eyes and feel nothing but the most love for them. And that's going to take some sincere journeying to look at all the stuff that comes up for me around different people, variation across as many varieties of people there are. So, and there aren't endless people. I know that we have reoccurring messages that we're telling. And so I'm not afraid of that. It doesn't feel daunting. It feels very accessible. Especially because I feel like every day I learn to love somebody else, somebody new. I see someone beyond my judgment, and it's usually just a second or two beyond when I want to turn away. Something happens and I can see. So matching the gear to the goal, and gear to match the goal. So I gear myself the way I would gear a bicycle, up and down on my kind of axis, my y-axis, toward the goal. And the goal is a line of information that I'm joining. So I am right now in a line of information at this particular y-axis point. And when I want to match that next goal, I have to y-axis move through the states to get to that goal. Now, I think we assume that all goals that are of this like higher self are going to be higher and higher and higher and higher. That's something I have a question about. I'm not sure. Is that true? When I hear Louise Hay say something like, I want good for me all the time. I deserve good all the time. I deserve good all the time. That does feel like an elevation, does feel like a movement upwards. Not a selfish, I deserve good. That's me, like, I deserve good all the time. No, more like I excel beyond, I excel beyond, I excel beyond, I excel beyond. And I feel like yoga for me is a really nice externalization of that exact thought, which is to stand more and more in myself, high inside of my body. So gear to match the goal, match the gear to the goal. I realize that we need transition language for manifestation. So we've been going from to not have in our mental state to have. And there's this huge gambit in between of thoughts that help to carry us up the spiral. And if we're just assuming to be jumped to forward, and I don't know, I feel like Amy maybe mentions this, but I just realized, oh, we need language like, I've come to see the value in blank, 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 or I changed my mind about blank, 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 or I started to see more of blank, 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 blank. So then I decided that I could blank, 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 blank. For example, I saw more people accessing what they love as a career and just doing what they love and actually being really excited by it and happy that I started to see that it was possible for me. And um, once I changed my mind about what my relationship with my parents meant to them and to me, once I changed my mind about what they owed me or what the relationship owed me or what the world owed me, I was able to see that I am standing inside of something that is quite a bit more rich than the assumption that I have about how good it's supposed to be. It's a lot richer than that. And so just opening that mentality up, just opening that framework allows me to see that I can rise into that. That could be real for me. Rather than I don't have that perspective. My family life is confusing. There's someone in particular who never understood me and doesn't understand me to, oh, they understand me, everything's good. We've broken through that shield and now we're happy. It's like if we're really and I was gonna say if we're really intelligent, but I think if we have resistance on that particular issue, it's gonna take a couple of dong, 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 dong steps to get us beyond that, the hump of our assumptions. I had this thought about we were talking about family stuff again, and you had mentioned that you felt like you'd already done the work. You were like, um, you know, that part of it is done. I've already tried that. It doesn't work. And there was that thought pattern, right? Um, which, like, if I think about that in my own life, yeah, even just on these little exercises of trying something out, I'll focus on something for a while and then I'll say, I've tried that. I'm frustrated. It didn't work, which helps to facilitate me not doing it again if that was the path I wanted to go. But if I could give myself a little bit of a leg up, like my little stool there, I could say, yeah, it hasn't worked. And I know that most people have the experience of it not working. That takes me up a little bit out of that. And I know there are a lot of things that I've done in my past that I didn't know I could do. Yeah. I started things and was doubtful and overcame that. Even if it was like I learned to walk at the age of what, 16 months or whatever it was. And it probably felt impossible. It's like this totally bizarre thing to go from being inside of the womb, not needing to use your body at all to keep yourself up, to learning that then you can move and you can stretch out completely. And people kind of after a while put you down and expect you to move a little bit. And then it's like, oh God, I just love moving. I can't believe this. I'm actually changing my reality by pushing myself across the ground. And then I'm starting to see things differently. And oh, here I am a little bit taller and I can see, whoa, all those things down there. So I just feel like allowing ourselves to see that there are these things that seem insurmountable and that we actually do surmount them constantly, constantly. So all of that to say that I wanted to talk about what feels better. This was my question. Another one of relating back to how does it feel? What feels better? To feel that we've already done all that we can, or to assume that there's always more to learn? Because to me, when I say I've already done it, I can't do it. I can't do it. It automatically in my body, I feel there's like the movement stops. There's like a shoot of energy that's like quelled. When I say there's always more to learn, I feel myself capable of moving outward toward my goal or my external environment. There is no external environment. I am one with the image that I see. So if I'm able to continue to move outward, then I can keep receiving. And then I'm actually in conjunction with my reality rather than kind of sectioning things off, saying that's external, this is other, and I am internal, I'm self. That divide is absolutely the same as any dichotomy, any paradox. So we have the earlier one, which I was saying, which was we jump from not knowing to knowing, or we jump from not having to having, and we're supposed to just jump through that. Well, that same mechanism is happening where I'm saying internal and external. There's this there's this gradient of information that happens in between me and that other, which actually means that there is not that duality, right? So they're just this cyclical, circular movement. So, oh, that tastes like dog food. um, so my last point would be, um, I'll tell it in a story. I saw this woman today. I went to yoga. I think she was one of the only people I made eye contact with because I was feeling kind of like internal. And I walk into the change room and she was in the corner and she was just changing and she looked up at me. And lately I've just been kind of seeing people as dogs. Like I see dogs and I see how innocent and sweet they are and how fully perfect they are exactly as they are. They just look at you and they're just so present. They're so open in there. And I saw this woman as this dog and it's pouring rain right now. So it was like all her hair was like down. She just looked up and was so sweet and like her everything was just open, even if I could tell there was like little bits of sadness or little bits of something there. She was like, "Nah." and uh and then after the yoga class, I just was struck by that and I just like smiled probably in an awkward way and moved on. And she probably didn't know how much I was like, maybe she did know, actually. I think she probably did know. I was just amazed by her. And then I went after the yoga class, I went back out into the change room and I saw her again, turn towards me, wet again. I think she'd taken a shower, so she had just gotten wet again. And I saw her as this like water dog, one of those dogs that just loves water and goes and plays in the water and is just like serious in love with the water and like and they're back out again, they're rolling in the grass and they're just so happy. They're just like through their whole body, just like love water. And I just saw her in this way. I just saw her as this sweet, full expression of this like animal quality. And it just totally freed me from ever having to know anything more than that. And if we spoke again, if I mean not again, but if we ever spoke to each other, I that would change. But in that moment, it was like, oh, I love her. It was so easy to love her. And I think with human beings versus animals, for example, I tend to see variants that I want to control. I'm like, oh, that woman's hair is wet. Why is her hair wet? Like she should really clean it. Is she not cold? It was cold outside. Or is she going to get cold? Like, is she going to wear a jacket? Is she going to wear a sweater in the class? I'm like thinking about that. And then I'm thinking, oh, she kind of look me in a certain way. Like, what does she want from me? Is she going to talk to me? Does she think I remind her of somebody? Does she want to like sit beside me in the yoga class and start talking? I don't like that kind of thing. So then I'm like in this whole direction, all of which is fictional. And really what I said earlier is still so uniformly true in my goal for my life is that I want to see that in everyone. I want to see that sweet presence. And I I kind of found that little trick and it just came to me and I don't know if it'll ever happen again, but the trick of seeing people as their pure animal form and not like, that person looks like a hawk, or that person really reminds me of a leopard, or something specific like that. But I don't need to think it. I can just let it hit me if it does. And another thing, I've been using humility for years. And I still love it, but I have my doubts on it. I've been using like downplaying myself as a way to see people's goodness because if I downplay myself and they were kind to me, then I knew that they were good. And this is like kind of a behaviorist way of looking at it. I see this, I do that, I hope for this. and it doesn't really have the same effect. It has left me feeling insecure for most of my life because I felt that being insecure was the best way to get close to people. And I now can see that it isn't, and that although it has worked to some degree, it has worked in a way that has cultivated relationships that need me to stay small. And um, I'm sure that the people who played with me have their own side of that story, and whether it's they also want to be small or they want to be big or whatever, but that's just how that dynamic works. And either we cultivate each other to be small, or we want to feel good in that person's presence, so we kind of push them down or get pushed up by them. And I have a lot of friendships where people feel they need to cultivate me. They feel they need to encourage me, and you can do it, and you're great, Ray, because I, unbeknownst to my conscious self, have been creating an environment where my my persona is one of low status, basically. Even though I continue to get the feedback that I play high status, like I get cast as these different types of characters that are very different from my internal experience, which is really just an experience of people. So it's not internal. It's like we both have this arising simultaneously because there is no external. I am actually intaking that. It is giving and taking as it goes. And then there's something else that can capture this other quality of me. But in communication, often I feel this this game, this infinite game. But I'm excited to make it finite. That is a finite game that has a goal to it, and that goal can be realized and can be completed. And then I can move on to the next game. And hopefully it's a better game and it has a little bit more nuance and a bit more fullness to the expression. Because at that level, I'm really cultivating the same type of pattern that is, it's if it were to happen for everybody, for example, like it's almost like if you play by the rule, assume everyone plays by the rule and see what happens. So if everyone plays by the rule of downplaying oneself, we have a sea of sheep. And that's just not good. That's not a good world. We need people who are activated, who are comfortable speaking their mind, who are comfortable being seen. And then it won't be so scary anymore. And the sheep won't be sheep. We won't have sheep. I mean, a sheep idea will be of the past. It'll be people who actually are self actualized. And that I think there's this perception that a self-actualized person has to have followers. We are all each other's followers. We need each other's information, but we're not blind because of that. We are activated because of that, and that's what group work does. So I'm excited that we're doing this group stuff. And yeah, so that was just a bit of what I've been thinking about, and I hope to hear back from you very soon. Love you.